Do you guys ever wonder how you can become good at something? And today, I'll teach you how to be good in Parallel. Today, I have a special guest with us today. It's a guy that I just met out of nowhere and he decided to help me. And I was like, I'm so grateful. So today, we have BealNye with us today. What is up, my guy?
Nothing much, man. I'm just vibing out. I'm here to help you guys learn a few tips and tricks to get you started with Parallel and make it a smooth and nice transition into a good TCG.
Let's go. All right. So, for those of you who do not know, Parallel is actually a vast sci fi TCG game, and they actually have five main factions, which I think we can dive down a little bit deeper in a bit. But today, we'll give you guys some beginner tips on how to actually navigate yourself through the leaderboards as well as through the game. What is some of your beginner tips that you can give us right off the bat?
Well, beginner tips, it really depends on, what kind of deck you're playing. But in the bigger scope of things, I would say one of the most important tips to know is you should always bank. And when you play the game, you'll realize that to the right of you, you're going to have a pile and it's going to say 0 energy. You're going to start, 4 or 5 cards. You're going to have your mulligan phase. But every turn, you're required to bank to the right of you, and that's going to be your energy that you use throughout the game. And considering what cards you might have in your deck, you'll be able to actually manipulate that pile and use those cards. Banking early is a very important thing. Another one is every Parallel has Paragons, 3 Paragons for it right now. And they all have different special abilities, pretty much, different passives. So find out what your passive is and really using cards that work with your passive is a really strong way to make a really good core deck immediately. And then from there, you can kind of start to mess with like 1 and 2 variations of cards to see what you like in certain mix-ups and everything like that.
That's sick. Like, would you have to also find out about your own play style, whether you're an aggressive player or a more sustained and sustained player?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe due to all the different Paragons you have at your disposal, if you want to be more of an aggro or fast-paced player, like you can definitely make decks that kind of lean towards that play style. But then you also have the choice of, a slower type like Earthen or something that is more based on healing and bigger units and kind of making value. So it's really finding the parallel that I think fits your play style is important. But all parallels to me are, to each their own. They're all important in their own ways and they're all good at their own things.
Awesome. What are some of the current metas in the game currently that you can show us? Like, you already pull out your deck and share with us your favorite deck, man.
All right. Well, if you want current meta, what I've been seeing the most of in ranked is pretty much a lot of aggro, which, if you're any much of a TCG player, you know that aggro is a very fast-paced type of deck. You try to get on board quick, you try to dominate, and you try to go face. But I also think that's because people just lean towards it because it's one of the easier decks to play. I wouldn't say it's the most dominant heavy deck. I've had good performances with late game and mid game decks, and I just think it needs to be experimented more by other people. But like if you were to look at a deck like this and you look at the curve, you have a lot of 1-drops, which means you can obviously play a lot of cards out of your hand on turn 1 and 2. And then the whole point of a deck like this pretty much is you manipulate cards like Kill Switch. And basically, after the unit that has this equipped to it dies, it can instantly kill something else on the board. So you can pretty much get a lot of value instantly.
Suicidal.
Right? It's insane. And then you have cards like Hardling Pilot, which is a 1 cost. And if you look, it says Shield and Salvage. And Salvage in this game is like if you have any upgrades on your unit that has Salvage, then if they get destroyed or disposed of, you can move those upgrades onto another unit and then basically reactivate the ability that you previously had on the main unit to begin with. So you can kind of juggle around kill switches and get rid of units that way. With this specific Paragon, you have the passive ability where if you have an upgrade on a unit and it is destroyed, a main unit, not a token unit, then it will make a 1/1 token that you can then use as an upgrade or as something to just attack with board with. So it gets like really... Yeah, it becomes a very layered kind of offense in a way. So you keep piling on these units, you keep attaching upgrades to them individually, even when they're dealt with, they keep spawning other 1/1s. And on top of that, you have your Paragon, which is a 5 cost Paragon, but when you play it, it makes a 2/2, and then it makes a 4/4, and the 4/4 when it dies makes 2 nanobots immediately, which are those tokens that you can add as upgrades and stuff.
It's like duplicating.
Exactly, right? Like it becomes like a continuous wave of pressure almost if executed properly. And then to add everything else to that, like you have a whole OTK card called Jury Rig Juggernaut, who's a 7
What's
cost.
OTK?
So OTK is like a one-shot kill in a way. The objective is literally what it says. Like you play this card, or if you play this combo right, if they don't have a defender, which is like a blocker, then you can pretty much GG. You can immediately attack face. You get it for like 30 plus damage with the right upgrades and everything in it.
30 plus damage? That's like the whole life already.
That's one crazy type of deck. Another one that is pretty popular that I've seen is Kathari, and Kathari is a clone race. So the whole point of it is like pretty much this passive in general.
By the way, Kathari looks crazy though.
Bro, Kathari is it used to be like my bread and butter because I used to love the way all the Paragons looked, especially like Naeus and everything with the hair, like sick. But the passive for Scipius is when you bank a unit, any unit card, you get a 1/1 token immediately. And so immediately gets a unit on board for you. And on top of that, you still have the energy to use because it doesn't use any of your energy.
Let me get this straight. You have factions, and on top of each faction, you can actually select a Paragon that can, Correct. Give you certain effects and certain passive as well. Correct. Depending on your playstyle.
Absolutely. It really depends on what you're aiming for. But yeah, so if you look right here, like we have the Kathari species, and we have Asio, which is kind of like you use a whole deck or waste all your cards in your deck, and then you have like a one-shot kill type of thing. Oh. You have another one like Naeus, which is get on the board, and then once you attack face or when they survive damage, they get buffed as the game goes on. And then you have Scipius, which is if you bank a unit, you make a 1/1 token. And that's just Kathari. Scipius. Yes. Scipius in my head is probably one of the best parallels because it's so when you get an understanding of it, there's so much versatility you can use with it, all the mechanics of it. So
yeah, I played this deck and I kind of like it better.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Was there any card that stuck out to you while you were playing it? Do you remember it like that?
I forgot all the card names, bro. I'm a beginner, and as a beginner, never ever just spam your cards, man. You guys have to read first. Don't be like me.
That was actually one of the tips. Yeah, actually for beginner tip, another one is kind of knowing when to respond on the board, because you're absolutely right. Like if you burn all the cards out of your hand immediately trying to fight back for board, you're just going to put yourself in a worse situation at times, and then you could just lose the game outright from that when you had a chance and you just had to play a little bit more patient.
All right, your favorite deck now. Let's go.
My favorite deck, though?
You showed me that just now.
I would say it's probably my Juggernaut Workshop. And what's really cool about this deck is the fact that this Paragon, just like anything else, you have 3 of them, but Workshop in particular works as a counter system. So every 4 turns, or bank and my turn went on. Every 4 turns, I will get a token, and this token will have it can make either a defensive token that will be a 3/6. I can make it a aggressive token that's a 4/4 and has an ability called Armed, which is like priority strike. So if I hit something, it will instantly die first, or I calculate my damage first. And if the unit dies, I won't take any damage. And then there's also a third token that's a 2/5 that allows you to do 3 damage onto something on board instantly. So it's really good for like board control.
That's sick.
So yeah, with this build in particular, you can kind of like sit back a little more and be a little bit more responsive. So there's a lot of good cards like Black Market Fixer, which is like a 4-cost card. If you're a beginner, you're probably going to want to be running this. This card by far is like one of the most value heavy cards that you'll have in the game, I think. Being able to destroy
Market Fixer, guys.
Black Market Fixer, that's the man. He's really good. There's other cards like, this deck also runs Jury Rig combo, which is why I showed you earlier. With the 7 costs, I could do over 30 damage.
Yeah.
You also have other kind of shenanigans.
Very versatile.
Yeah, it's a very kind of like, it's like a toolkit of sorts, right? I'm a player that personally likes to have options when I play the game. So if you make your deck with the mindset of like, I'm just going to execute this one game plan all the way through, then there are times where, well, if someone stops that game plan, now you're actually just done for and you lose the game outright. So I like to keep myself in the game as much as possible, and which is why I make very versatile decks. And I try to aim for more of like a mid-range to long range type of game if I can.
What about like there's 5 main factions, right? Can you like maybe share some of the more popular ones and like easier ones for because I know right now we're in beta and we are able to open some boxes if we play all the factions and win at least 5 games, right?
Yeah, so, correct. If you're talking about rookie,
this thing, that's the rookie mode.
More popular ones from this group, I would say, is probably Markolian or Shroud, and maybe Augencore. And the reason for that is Shroud is a lot more of like a control-heavy archetype. So you have a lot of good cards that can kind of respond quick, and they do like a lot of, they can get a lot of value instantly because they have a mechanic called Banish. So it's very easy, I think, for a new player to kind of sit back and be able to actually read the cards, set the tempo of the game, and kind of control it from that kind of side. If you're a Marco player, or if you're like, an Augen player to a certain degree, you might be setting the tempo by trying to play all your cards as fast as possible. And it can work, especially with these factions, because of the kind of cards they have in them. But you still need to be like super efficient with how you're playing your 1 to 2 drops to 3 drops. Otherwise, you burn out super quick. And although it's really quick, easy to put out as many units as possible, if you do that and you fail, it's kind of like we were talking about earlier. You kind of just bet on one strategy, and it can come to bite you, in the cheeks if it doesn't work. I mean, the first Paragon that they give you is very, I think, hard to operate because you need really specific cards to go in it. And they're not trying to give you all the secret sauce immediately, right? So they kind of give you a starter deck that has options, but not, all the best ones off the rip. But I think Athari is if you learn the positioning of certain cards, you understand the combos for turn 3 to 4 and all the weird stuff you can do with the actual clones in terms of making value from the cards in your bank. Like I think it's a very versatile Paragon, or Parallel to be specific. But I could see why it's hard at first. Absolutely.
What's the fastest you eliminate your opponent?
On average, I'd say
10?
For this deck,
12?
No. 12 minutes, that's too long. If you're running a deck like this, you should be able to win a game within like 7 to 6 minutes, if that. If you're playing,
if you run a deck like this and you do not kill the opponent in 7 minutes, evaluate yourself, okay?
You said evaluate yourself. No, it's not like that. If you don't get the proper cards at the right times, you could definitely find yourself in a bit of a pickle really quickly.
Markolian versus Augencore right here.
Man, here we go. G-Force. I'm sorry, my guy. I'm sorry. I didn't want to do it.
He didn't want to do it, guys.
So like right here, you see we have our mulligan phase. So if I'm looking at this card gets a buff every time I play an effect. So having this in my back pocket isn't a bad idea because this helps me draw more cards. So I'm probably gonna get rid of 1/2 drop because I already have another one. And usually Sorenade isn't bad to keep, but I'm gonna go ahead and discard that as well. Let's see what we got. All right, so we got Crimson Fleet. Crimson Fleet's really good because it's a 1-drop that draws a card instantly. And because I have certain vehicles in my deck, I can draw like a very specific one I'm looking for. So we're probably going to do that. He didn't play anything on turn 1, so we're going to take advantage of that. So let's see, we got Lancer Tank. So we drew a card, and we're in a good spot. We end our turn. But we already got board control. Next turn, we're probably going to be playing something like Markolian Bannerman with another one so that I can use this and buff both of them together. Oh, he didn't play anything again. Oh, he's giving it to me. But yeah, as you can see, I've been banking cards. You can check your bank and everything once you've, on the turns or while you're waiting. You can check your waste whenever you want. If you reveal your opponent's bank cards, you can see what they've chosen to bank. So it kind of helps, helps you figure out what kind of deck they're running or how far along they might be in a certain strategy. And as you can see, like the marker pressure, and then plus I still have my Paragon I can play it, which is a 5/5 by itself. So This deck pretty much just gets a lot of value from getting early board, and then once they have early board, you kind of just keep throwing
Control
more
the
and more
game.
things down. Yeah, you just try to make as many value trades as possible. But as you see, like we're going to turn 5, and I'm about to be able to hit him with another 5. I have a 4 damage unit now. These can get stronger if he plays a lot of units. I have a card called Neutron Bomb, which is a legendary card. But pretty much this
Ooh.
card does 3 damage to 1 unit. If that unit dies, it will do another 2 damage to another unit. If that unit dies, it will do another 1 damage to another unit. So it's a super good like early game board clear. Yeah. So you saw I just drew my Paragon out from the right side of the field, and that's it. That's the game.
Hey, we didn't even use an avatar,
5 turns. What did I say? That was 5 turns.
All right. Now the question is, for a beginner, what is the difference between Glitz and Prime?
Difference between Glitz and Prime is that Prime is a token that you can buy and kind of be a part of the ecosystem. Because Prime is something that you can earn throughout the ecosystem by playing the game if you have the proper digital collectibles that you can buy through OpenSea and whatnot. But Glitz is for people, because this game is a free-to-play game. All that other stuff is literally just a bonus. So off the rip, when you play the game, you're going to be doing rookie queue, and you'll get starter decks, and those starter decks you can immediately play, and those are full of apparitions, and those apparitions are the same things or the same type of cards that you'd be getting from buying apparition packs with Glitz. And Glitz is literally just kind of like the
in-game currency.
Yeah, it's the in-game currency, exactly. So you can actually buy with USD, like $20 for a Glint pack or bundle and stuff like that, and then buy packs that way and get your apparitions to play the game that way, or you can buy the digital collectibles and play it that way and earn Prime, which is the token, and pretty much, go about that way. And I believe for future tournaments, they're also going to be pushing for full digital collectible decks, but that's for the future,
Can we share more about the battle pass as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So here you have the battle pass. It's still beta, so there's still a lot of things that are to come. Like you can get like a premium track in the future and everything that they're already working on. But as you see, like by doing them, just like anything else, you'll sometimes get premium pack rewards, which is just a better pack than apparition packs. So you have a higher chance of getting a rare or a legendary. When it comes to the key slots are more things to do with the digital collectible side of things. So throughout completing the battle pass, you'll get these.
What are these?
You got your keys. So
what are keys, bro?
I have a lot to be fair, but for this one particular, like as you see, it says like 30% more Prime, and then that's the token we were talking about. Obviously, there's the shard, which gives you 30% bonus on your XP for your cards, so you can make more of them.
Oh my God,
things like that.
It looks so pretty. Would you be able to earn if it's like, because right now it's like kind of like a closed beta for 30 days. Correct. Will you be able to play after 30 days or no?
I believe they want to keep the beta open, or if it's anything, it's like they're keeping it closed to a certain amount of group of people as they slowly branch it out to open it up to like basically make sure that everything's working properly and all that. So all the people who have been early supporters, people that made like on the ardent list and everything for having the collectibles, were the first people in, and then we obviously introduced people that were in alpha and everything like that. But I believe the intention is that like when beta gets fully done and fully like capable of what they want it to, that's when they're gonna open it up to everyone. Everyone will be able to play it, and it won't be like kind of like some revoked access anymore. Like it won't be just the weekend of playing. It'll be like no, like now you can play like whenever you want. Once you get into the game, if you want me to run through like specific keywords and all that, because every parallel does have its own set of keywords, which are like the assault, the shield and things like that, which are definitely a little bit hard to grasp, I would say. But with any bit of time, you'll understand everything pretty easily. I feel like Parallel is a very like easy game to learn how to play, but it's a very hard game to master in a way, right?
Guys, make sure you check out our link down his socials down below. But thank you so much, BealNye, for taking your time to share with us this very insightful session.
Yeah, anytime, man.